Hello, and welcome to the instructional video for Web of Science. If it isn't already, Web of Science should be your go-to database for anything involving the science, medicine, or technology. It's the most complete and has the greatest scope of any of those related databases that we have available to you through Holland Web Library for KGI. And we're going to be doing some stuff today, obviously, with the rare disease research that you're doing, but keep in mind that this is going to be very applicable to a lot of different topics that you're going to have. So keep in mind that it's sort of one of these start-out databases that you should be using when you're beginning to do any of your research. Now, to get into it, starting from the library website, which is libraries.claremont.edu, at this point you should be somewhat familiar with this. There's the little gray, olive-green toolbar in the center that has all the important links to the catalog, other stuff. There are a lot of different ways to get into each of the databases. There's the actual databases link, which will take you into an A to Z list, as well as a list of databases by subject area. If you want to see everything that's here, it's one way to do it. There's also a listing for the most used databases in this little drop-down. Web of Science is one of our premier databases. It gets more use than a lot of others, so it ends up being here, so you can always get into it from here directly. I'm going to encourage you to use the research guide. You should have seen these by now, seeing the previous video that you watched preparing for class, that the research guides are subject area oriented guides that are supposed to collect both library resources as well as other resources into one place to give you a good starting point for doing any kind of research. Now, of course, there's one for KGI, and there is a general TMP information sources as well as the class oriented one. They're very similar in content. Now, you've seen the instructional video tab. You may not have spent much time with the other tabs. The one that I want to focus on for today is the bioscience tab, because this is where all the listing of databases is going to be kept that are the most useful for you doing this kind of science research. Now, from the top to the bottom, there's a lot of different stuff here. Some of these are freely available, some of them are available only through the library. But keep in mind that as they go down, they tend to be of less use, of less importance, simply because they may be more specific, or they may be in areas that are not necessarily that useful to you at KGI. But they're all here, and so it's a good idea that, depending on what you're doing, you may want to take a look at them. But we're definitely going to start with Web of Science. Now, Web of Science is housed within the interface of Web of Knowledge. And one of the things you want to keep in mind is that Web of Science is just one piece of Web of Knowledge. There are other databases that you can search in here, some of which we'll talk about in other videos, but Web of Science is one thing, but then you have other stuff like the Derwent Innovations Index, which might be important, particularly for your KGI. Medline, we have a version of Medline that's available through here that we'll be talking about later. But keep in mind that you can choose a number of different databases to use for the Web of Knowledge interface. Now, Web of Science itself, most of the databases are set up pretty similarly. You'll start out with 3 or 4 starting areas where you can put in search terms. The limiters are pretty standard. Topic is really just a general keyword search. You can search by title, author, other information. If you need more fields, you can always add more fields to string multiple topics together. You can also start doing some limiting here. At the bottom, you can see that you can limit by year. So if you want to only see the most recent 5-year stuff, you can actually do that right out of the gate when you're starting to do your research. Now, today we're going to use as an example Felty syndrome, rare disease. If we search for that, just as a general keyword search, you're going to get a search results screen that looks like this. Now, at the top here you can see there are 241 results. It's going to default to organize these from newest to oldest, so you're going to see the most recent stuff at the top. And there are a lot of different ways to refine your results. Now, you could go back and immediately start doing adding different terms and anding and oring them together with Boolean operators, going back using the search button. But one thing you can do is from this screen you can do a lot of refining your results. Now, you can search within results. You can search by categories. If for some reason you only want the immunology related ones, you can click that box and click refine. Document type is going to be very important to you. Say you only want the secondary literature. Say you only want to see review articles for something. These are a tremendous place to start, particularly if you're not used to a particular subject area. You can limit by that and then refine that way. There are a lot of other things that you can do here that are put in that are default ways for you to start refining your results. Everything from languages to publication years, all those things that you can do from here. Now, Beyond that, what I really want to show you and what I really want to concentrate on is the fact that Web of Science, and one of the reasons why people use Web of Science as opposed to any other database like Google Scholar is, it has tremendous information about citations. And by that I mean sort of what people are citing in a given paper, but beyond that, who is citing that paper in the future. To show you a little bit about what I mean, so there are several different options and several different functions here that you just don't get in most other databases. A simple explanation of this is this Create Citation Report button. If you click this, you'll see a general citation report of the items published each year, citations in each year, for all the results that you've got from this particular search that you did. And so the ones here, you can see that, for a given articles, for particular years, you can see citations and how often citations have happened, so you can see the most current stuff, what's going on, papers that may not have been cited at all. All that information is available here. The nice thing about that is that if you want a very quick way to organize these 241 results, you can actually choose to change the way they're organized, and there's a lot of different ways, as you can see, to do that, but one of them is through citations. So we can say that we want the things that have been cited the most, so the highest to lowest, to be the way our search results are organized. So you can see now, things have changed. You're now seeing the paper of those 241 that has been cited the most. So you can see here, time cited 140. There's a very good chance that if you're starting out, if you want information, and you're early, particularly in your research project, you're going to want to access articles that may have high citations. In theory, those are the ones that one would believe has the best science in it because more people have cited it in the future. If we look into the information about the article itself, all the basic information is here, title, authors, basic information, as well as the abstract. Over on the right-hand side, you can see a lot of information about citations. The nice thing about this is, and one of the really good aspects of Web of Science is, with a single article, if you find one good article, you can really get a lot of information by mining the citations available. At the top, you can see that how many times it's been cited in the future. You can also see the cited references. This is just the bibliography of the paper itself. So at the bottom, cited references is just going to give you the bibliography of this paper. If you click this, you'll be able to access and directly link into all the papers that exist in this paper's bibliography. If, however, you want to see everything that came after this paper, if you want to see in the future the 141 articles that have cited this article, you can do that as well. So the nice thing is, you can move backwards in time as well as forwards in time to see all the things that are related to this particular article. You can see using that method that you can get very far and get an awful lot of information from a single good article. It's a great place to start. One other really interesting feature, and it's awfully flashy and awfully interesting, and I encourage you to play around with it, is the citation map. Now, it takes an awful long time to load, but I'm going to show you how the interface works. You can actually set it for forward, backward, or forward and backward. And what this is going to do is show you a visual representation of all the papers that have either been cited by or cited this. And the interesting thing is you can actually expand it out to 2 generations. So you can see not only everything that cited this paper, but everything that then cited those papers. So it gets pretty overwhelming pretty quickly. It takes quite a while for it to load, but the overall citation map looks like this. So this is one just going forward, and you can see there's a lot of different ways to access the information. You can limit, if you want to change the period of time at the top or create the map in a different way. And you can really just end up sort of playing with it by literally pulling things out. And so in this case, this is set up so that you see it by author. You can see the basic information for this particular article, as well as, if you pull further, everything else that came after it. So it's just really a visual and graphic representation of looking at citations and citation patterns. And there are a lot of ways for you to start narrowing things down and manipulating this and making it sort of your own. It's just a nice feature. Now, finding this stuff is one thing. You want to make sure that you can get it. And at this point, you should be fairly familiar with, but just to review, using things like interlibrary loan as well as getting the content of a given article. Always note that to get this item, use this little green square. It's going to tell you your basic information. You should, for this particular article, be able to get the article directly. If this doesn't work, or if you only see this, you may have to go directly into the Go to Journal. That's going to take you to the journal web page. From there, you're going to need to drill down, so you may have just a list of all their journals. You'll have to choose the year, and then the date, and the page number to get to your PDF. But this indicates that we have this particular title from 1949, essentially to the present. If you don't see this, though, remember that you're going to need to order it through Interlibrary Loan. On more information on using Interlibrary Loan, look at the pre-class video that you just watched. Now, in addition to doing all this, one of the things that you're really going to want to do, particularly for this class, is to export things. And in this case, you're going to use RefWorks. Now, you should have all set up RefWorks accounts by now. The nice thing about Web of Science is it didn't used to, but it now works very well with RefWorks. You'll see the button just along the top. Whether you've got a group of citations together or whatever, eventually you'll see some way to export these. In this case, we'll just do this single article. But you'll click RefWorks. You'll see very quickly it opened this up and it said that it was done. If you have multiple articles that you're exporting, it may take longer. And then it'll open up the RefWorks login in a new window. I'm going to put in my information. And it shows your imported references. If you look at our import log, we can see when it was done, and down at the corner, if you want to view your last imported folder, here we've got the Fieldy syndrome article I just put in. From here, it's just a matter of creating a new folder, putting this in there, doing all the things that you should know how to do at this point using RefWorks. If you need a review on using RefWorks, watch that pre-class video about manipulating things within RefWorks. If you're also having trouble using it, make sure that you look into the help section of the tutorials. There's a great deal of basic information in here. If you spend 15 minutes watching Flash movies, it'll make you into an expert. Now, just a couple of other things about Web of Knowledge. Our Fieldy syndrome search again. When you look in here, a couple more things about Web of Science. When you're starting out, or when you get results, keep in mind the stuff available along the top. There are more ways to search than just your search. Okay? You can actually search by author. If you want to find a particular author, that is to say you're not certain of all the information about someone, you can look someone up this way. Even more important is cite and reference. If you know of a particular person or a particular journal or something, you want to see the actual citation information directly, there's a way to search for that. As well as an advanced search, which is going to give you a lot more options to choose from. It's also going to include the search history down here. You can also see that through the actual search history box, so that you can see what you've done and actually start combining sets within things. So if you've done multiple searches, it's one way to do it. Now, if you have any questions about this, make sure you ask someone in class or make sure that you contact a librarian, and good luck using it.